Alright, depending on the delay, this should start a little earlier than the countdown was saying, but whatever, who cares? Who cares about early content? And good, I'm already muted, so I don't have to hear my voice, though I am going to unmute it to make sure the mic is working. Okay, yep, that's working. How's it going, people? I lied to you. I lied to you because I'm a terrible person, and I was going to make a video, I guess, about the patch notes, I guess. There's a lot of I guesses in there, because I didn't think I'd be this mad about it, but I think this patch note sucks. Let's see. In the chat, we have Swiss Pikemen and Deadly Bunnies. Swiss Pikemen talking about the Mask of Heavens. So that must be Tic-Tac-Toe's items. Okay. Skipping briefly over some of this stuff, there is a very nice tribute to Kevon and Kevin. I'm guessing it's actually just Kevin. It appears CA has lost a member of their team, and that is fucking tragic. But not much we can do about that. Shout out to some modders, and there's a big Beastman rework. There's a bunch of campaign stuff I don't fully understand. I know that if you get Blood Grounds, basically if you raise a city to the ground, that whole province becomes your little playground, and the more you play in it, the better you get. Dark Moon's not shitty anymore, and characters and faction effects are a little updated. Dwarves got reworked, grudges are better, but I'm mostly multiplayer focused, so we're going to just scroll right through that shit. Campaign changes. Scrolling through that shit. Norska, small reshuffle of Norscan units within the building tree to allow them more unit variety. That's not why their campaign was difficult, but whatever. Malagor can fly now. I'm fine with that. I think it's cool. I know Butcherbird hates that, so I'll trust his opinion and say that that's not great. New artwork is fine. I didn't actually have a problem with the old artwork. This is fine. I did think it was a little weird that River Trolls and... Is that regular trolls got new art, or is that stone trolls? If that's stone trolls, they look a lot like regular trolls to me, and I'm confused. And I think the Idol Gork looks worse. Aside from that, it's fine. High Elves look fine. Skaven look fine. Good for them. Passive ability recharge. That's just more clear. I support that. Okay. Getting on. Precursor missile weapons. The bug that we've been using for our speedruns is gone, so that will not be as much of an issue. Deadly Bunnies in the chat saying, my biggest fear is that people are going to play more Beastmen. They're just going to complain they're too good into SEs, and they're already good. And they get nerfed for no point. Fair. Alright. Chariot collisions. It's too large for my small brain. The main point is chariots are much more optimal at colliding, though I'm sure you've all seen the Turin videos and everybody else is talking about how chariots are a little too strong right now, where they just slam into everything and kill them. Unit categories and icons, this is a good change. Largely, there have been an issue of monsters all getting the same icon. You know, sometimes when it's in a big blob, you can't tell what the health bar is linked to. Spells and abilities, they like rounder numbers. They're going to 25, 45, and 60, largely, or 10. They don't mention it up there, but a lot of things got changed to 10. Spells and abilities, 20, 40, 60, also the same. We don't care about that. On to the good stuff. On to the good stuff. So Kazarak got a little bit of a cost increase, but otherwise got raw buffs. So good for him. I think he needed it. Beast Lord on Chariot, raw buffs, good for them. I'll get back to that because that gets a little weird. Malware can fly, and he got a new brace of spells. This is largely good. I really like mixed spellcasters. They're just more interesting than base spellcasters. Morgar got a mass increase, but otherwise is left alone. That's kind of interesting because I've always had trouble trapping down Morgar, so I don't really think he needed more slipperiness, but it's fine. This one's weird to me. And Deadly Bunny's going to get mad in the chat, but this may be why chariots are so fucking broken right now. But the Bray Shaman got 150 more cost. Okay, pretty whatever. He got 20 more armor, 12 more melee defense, 10 more melee attack, charge bonus, more armor piercing damage, and more anti-infantry. No, not a lot there, but I do also have the game up. Does he have Frenzy? Most things have Frenzy. Okay, he doesn't have Frenzy, so he doesn't get like a Frenzy double buff. But still, that's a lot of buffs for a Shaman. The Bray Shaman character is going to hit like a fucking truck. I don't know. Might be hard to kill him. They're a little squishy right now, but I think this is overdoing it. I think that caster is going to be too good. So that's my little boo-hoo about that. Gorbel got a leadership buff. I hate... Okay, quick note, not about the Beastman, but about the patches in general. I hate how this patch notes is set up, because as I was reading through it, I was getting angrier and angrier about, like, a lot of stuff I thought was dumb, and then way later on, it just goes back to the Beastman and mentions a bunch of things that change my views. Yeah, so, sorry, Miss Rat came home and I said hi to her quick. So the Gorbel has 10 more leadership, which all this worried me until I realized that one of their, I think it's like Bloodthirst or something, got nerfed on the leadership front. So at first I was like, why are Gorbels and Minotaurs getting so buffed on leadership? The Beastman's defining trait is that they're really good, but they'll run away quickly. Yeah. Yep, Butcherbird, I'm talking about that right now. So he didn't actually get a leadership buff, but at first when I was reading through it, because of the way the patch notes are structured, I was like, what the fuck? His charge got hit a little bit. His melee attack got hit a little bit because of the frenzy changes, but he did get more mass. Overall, I think Gorbel could have used a little bit more love. Here he didn't really get a buff at all. He lost some charge and he gained some mass. But I thought he could have used a little bit of love. Razorgore Chariot, Blood Greed got changed. That's the thing. Razorgore Chariot, cost increase, but it got 10 fucking melee attack, 2 melee defense, 10 more leadership, and 6 more charge. So Razorgore Chariot's got a big old buff. Minotaur's little debuff because of frenzy. Shields same. And I know the leadership went up, but again, as we're mentioning in the chat, well, Butcherbird's mentioning in the chat, Blood Greed got changed in there. That's linked to them. It's just not mentioned in the Beastman section up here, so at first I was reading through it, and I'm like, all right, Minotaurs are unbreakable. So, moving on. Manticore can finally be recruited like other units. That's a good change. It's going to kick my ass playing Skaven, but there's no reason they shouldn't have been able to recruit Manticores. If, like, I mean, Chaos and Norska could, and then Beastman's like, we're the third Chaos faction, it's going to be us! And then Dark Elves are like, ha, bitch, my Manticores now. So that was always kind of dumb. So it's good that they can get Manticores. Cygor is getting a cost decrease and losing a little bit of hit points. That's a weird change, but I'm not against it. I just don't really know who that's for. Chaos Warhounds get a good cost decrease. They needed that. Stories of Drakewall get a cost decrease. I don't know if they needed that. I don't know shit about them. Bretonia, Defenders of Flordery got a 75 gold cost decrease. That's fine. I don't think they needed it, but that's fine. Battle Pilgrims took they took a hit. Yeah, they took a hit. Because Frenzy, if I remember the change correctly, they're going to get their 32 melee attack back because of the Frenzy gives 2 more now. But losing that armor-piercing damage, I think Frenzy got a decrease in base damage, which the Battle Pilgrims largely rely on, and an increase to armor-piercing damage, which these Battle Pilgrims just lost. So on the whole, they lose a lot, in my opinion. I'll check in on the chat quick. Cheer up, Butcherbird. When you say disagree, Beastmen are S tier. Alright, you guys are just having your day, and I'll let that go. Blessed Field Trebuchet getting 1 melee defense. Fucking broken OP, nerf please. Can't kill. Otherwise, Bretonia's pretty inoffensive. Dark Elves, I thought this was dumb. So Hellebrand got a melee attack debuff to compensate for the frenzy buff, but she's already almost never used, so I think it's kind of dumb to debuff her like that. Oh, puppy's here. Sorry if you heard a whine. Because she needed some love, and instead they just kept her neutral, which is a little weird. Though under Cauldron of Blood, all the Cauldrons of Blood's got some melee defense. And that's okay. I mean, 6 melee defense is good, but it's still 28 melee defense is going to be lower than most things that are trying to kill her, so they'll still probably land their attacks. But yeah, I thought Hellebrand didn't need to tread water. I thought she needed some help, so that's not great. Death Hag lost some bonus versus infantry and some melee attack. Again, I don't really know why this is happening, because the Death Hags are hardly ever used, and when they are used, they're underwhelming. So this is for Frenzy, obviously, but this, I don't know why this happened. It just seems a little excessive and mean. Death Hags on the Cauldron of Blood, however, didn't lose any bonus versus infantry. They just gained some melee defense, so it looks like they're trying to force Dark Elf players to take Death Hags on the Cauldron of Blood. But that seems weird. Hellebrand got a little buff. Not too big of a deal. Witch Elves. Sorry, I keep looking at the chat occasionally. Witch Elves did this for Frenzy, but otherwise fine. Sisters of Singing Doom did that for Frenzy, but they're going to lose 1 melee attack on the whole there, so I don't really know why that happened. Bloodmac Medusa overall got some buffs. I don't think it's going to make them super viable, but we'll see. Their shots are just going to be slightly more accurate, which they were already pretty accurate in my opinion. And now they can shoot over allies a little bit better, which is good. Doomfire Warlocks and Slavanish's Harvesters got melee defense. It's just a good buff, good for them. War Hydras, I don't know how I feel about this, because I was talking to some of the RTK folks, and they said this is a big buff. I don't think this is a big buff. But that's just my opinion. Well, I should have mentioned at the start of the video, all these things are my opinion, so if you disagree, cool. We can have that conversation, but, this is just my opinion on it. So War Hydra got 50 less gold and got 6 melee defense. That's cool. And we can go through all these quick before I mention my thoughts. Shield Centaur, same thing, but at a higher ratio. And Charybdis, same thing. Cool, great, awesome. Now, why am I still not impressed with these? Because how do you ever kill the War Hydra? How do you kill the Charybdis? How do you kill the Shield Centaur? As most factions, right? As the Lizardmen, do you really run a Carnosaur at a War Hydra? Like, even if there was a War Hydra, do you really run a Carnosaur at it? Because it's just going to regen, and it's a pretty good melee combatant. These things don't really... They get bogged down in Spearmen, but when they get bogged down in Spearmen, the Spearmen aren't doing the damage. And that's kind of my point with this melee defense thing, is it's neat, but it's not the stat that's been killing them. What's been killing them is archers. It's been killing them as cannons. And that kind of thing, and that this doesn't help them at all. So if you take these things, sure, they're 50 gold less, but that melee defense is going to be jack shit when they become a pincushion and die. So that's, I don't know. I don't think that's that helpful to them. Sisters of Slaughter did get a buff, but Poison got a nerf. On the whole, I still think they went out a little bit, but that's true, and Ravagers of Rakarth got 50 gold off. So I don't think this is enough to help the Dark Elves back. It is a little bit of buffs, but in some weird places, some debuffs, weird places, I still think Dark Elves are going to suck, and I'm kind of mad about that, because I don't mind Dark Elves. Dwarves is a little complicated. Logic went over it better than I ever can, but let's get to it. Thorgrim Grudgebearer. This is a good change, but I have a question. Why the fuck was this ever a thing? Why is his mass 900? He's Thorgrim Grudgebearer. He's on top of the throne of power, and he has, like, less mass than a fucking beast chariot. I don't know. This is a good change. I'm just pissed off that this was ever a thing. And now he can hide in a forest. Interesting change, but fine. Grombrindle, unless I'm missing some context here, I think Grombrindle's going to be maybe the worst Dwarf Lord now. Because he was already the second most expensive, and the only reason you would ever take him nowadays is because he's Ungrim, but with Flash Bomb. And Flash Bomb could actually let Grombrindle catch something and fight it for a little bit. Without Flash Bomb, there's no reason to take Grombrindle over Ungrim in my mind, for an anti-large, unbreakable fighter. Now there's nothing different about them. Grombrindle does magic damage, I guess, but ethereal units aren't usually that big of a problem for the dwarves. Like, Banshees can be sniped out pretty easily. And I think some of the new runes will help you deal with that anyway. So I think Grombrindle is now went from being debatably the best lord. Last patch got more expensive, and now this, I think he's going to be the worst legendary lord. Yeah. Rune Lord on Anvil of Doom also went from mass 900 to 2,500. Again, cool, but why was their mass that low in the first place? It's fine. It's fine. Runesmith for Ironworn Shield for Ironbeard's Ring. Okay, that needs some context, so I can't comment on it now. The Ghost Runesmith got a cost increase, and otherwise the same thing. The Master Engineer now, I think, is going to be the best Dwarven hero, hands down. Because of Flash Bomb, which is super critical. It's the only reason I ever took Grombrindle in the first place, and now you can take it on a hero. So you could have Ungrim Iron Fist and pair him with the Master Engineer, and just get Ungrim Iron Fist with fucking Flash Bomb for less money than Grombrindle was. And now you get a Master Engineer who's also kind of like a Gunnery White and has good poke. And you can get Restock, so you can give your cannons and other shit, or Thunderers, or more importantly, Gyro Bombers and Gyrocopters Restock. So Master Engineer, in my opinion, going to be the best hero, because he didn't lose Scabscrath either. So he was already a decent hero. Not great, but he was decent because of Scabscrath. Now he has Scabscrath, the best non-spell ability in the game, in my opinion. Then he has Flash Bomb, the only thing that made Grombrindle viable and one of the best debuff spells of the game, in my opinion. And Restock, one of the only things that made Vampire Coast remotely good. So Master Engineer is just going to be the best. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Ghost had the same thing happen to him. Norgamling's Ironbreakers. Now, this is going to be a weird change. I don't know how I feel about it, because the Dwarves needed love, but I don't think they needed love in these ways. But Ironbreakers got a 50 gold increase for 5 melee attack. Well, 4 melee attack for the non-ROR version, but still. And then Hammers got... The ROR got melee defense, and Hammers themselves got more melee defense and splash attacks. Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess Hammers did need that. They're supposed to be elite infantry, and they kind of sucked at that. But I don't really like the Ironbreakers melee attack change, because most games that have Ironbreakers in them, it comes down to just Ironbreakers killing a lot of things, and they usually already pay for themselves. So now if they're kind of world beaters, I don't know. I think that's going to be annoying, because their niche as the ultimate defensive block was nice. But now if you just make them overall good, I don't know. And also, if they're better at melee attacking, why would you take them over Hammers? Because for 100... Oh, God. Actually, with the cost increase, yeah, for 50 more gold, you lose 4 melee attack, but you get blasting charges, you get... Oh, boy. Dwarves. Alright, so this is going to be a little outdated. Get on my face. Where are you? Ironbreakers, Hammers. So for 50 more gold in the end, you're going to get 25 armor, 5 more leadership, a little less speed, a little less melee attack because of the buff. Yeah, a little less melee attack, way more melee defense, like 20 melee defense, and you lose a little bit of weapon strength, but you get that back in the blasting charges. So I don't think there's... I think they wanted to try to make Hammers more viable and instead just made Ironbreakers a better version of them. I don't know. I don't think that's a great change. Ekron's Miners lost Frenzy. So that's just a nerf. They were a good unit, but it's just a weird nerf. And the Gyrocopters are more responsive. So outside of bug fixes, Grombrindle's unusable, and one of the best units on the roster just got worse. And then the Master Engineer got OP. So Dwarves are all over the place. I think overall this is a buff. Well, I mean, it's definitely overall a buff, but for their playstyle, I think they got a little more toxic to deal with. Empire Flagellants are big losers because they don't have a lot of armor-piercing damage, so the Frenzy, we'll get to that later, it's positioned weird in this thing. When Frenzy is such a big part of this patch, it's weird it's at the end. But Flagellants lost the melee attack, and then the armor-piercing values on Frenzy went up, but the base damage values went down, so Flagellants overall lose out. So Flagellants are worse, that's the only change in the Empire. Just checking the chat right now. Restock on Ironbreakers is kind of disgusting. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So, back to my point with the Ironbreakers, Neckbet just pointed out in chat, and if someone else pointed it out first, then I missed it, I'm sorry. But, yeah, so the Hammer versus Ironbreaker debate, you also can give yourself more blasting charges, making them even better when I already thought they were better. There's just no reason. There's no reason to take Hammers now. They're just a worse Ironbreaker. Okay, greenskins. I have a lot of thoughts about greenskins, but again, the patch notes were set up in kind of a dumb way. So at first I was pissed, and then I turned off being annoyed. So we'll get there. Warzag lost some melee attack. I think that's unnecessary, but sure. And then the boars across the board got more speed and more charge speed, but whatever. Grom lost 100 whole mass. Whoop-de-fucking-do. At first, I thought this is all you did to Grom. Really? God damn it. But abilities are apparently later, and he took some real hits on abilities, so we'll get to that. Black Orc Big Boss got some buffs because of the Boar, so did the Orc Shaman, so did the Orc War Boss. The Snotling Pumpwagon Flappa's lost charge bonus, which is weird because it's not like they're OP. It's not like anybody gives a shit about them. And the Snotling Pumpwagon Roller, I think that's supposed to mean Spiky Rollers, got a charge bonus, like ups. That's interesting. So Savage Orc Boar Boys got more leadership, lost some melee attack because of Frenzy, and they got some charge speed. So overall, what actually happened to them is they got some leadership and some speed. Savage Orc Boar Boys got speed. Again, they lost this, but Frenzy. Savage Orc Arrow Boys got leadership. Frenzy takes care of that. Savage Orc Biggins, Frenzy takes care of that. Savage Orcs got 2 leadership. Orc Boar Boys got faster. Broken Tusks Mob got faster. Boar Boys got faster. Orc Boar Chariots got a 200 gold decrease in cost. Lost a little bit of charge. Gained some speed. Gained some other speed. And lost a little bit of mass. And Goblin Wolf Riders and all the skirmish cav that's been such a problem for so long got a 25 gold increase. So whoop-de-fucking-do. So why am I annoyed? Or at first I was pissed because of Grom, but now later I know Grom gets nerfed, but I'm still annoyed. Why am I annoyed? Well, the greenskins are their problem as a faction is they're too cost effective, right? Also, someone's messaging me on Discord. Okay, I'll get back to that. Greenskins' problem is that they're too cost effective. Well, the main way to fight them is their cav sucks and their cav is too expensive, and they don't really have any good chariot options. So you just know that they're going to have the best infantry in the game, maybe, cost effective wise. Not like, I mean, Chosen will beat Savage Orc Biggins, sure, but Savage Orc Biggins are 900 gold. I thought Dr. I'll lose. Maybe. Sorry. Anyway. Best infantry in the game, best monstrous infantry in the game, especially with Stone Trolls. And Stone Trolls are notably not nerfed here, which is kind of fucking annoying because they've been a huge problem for a while. See Ice Power. Their archers are really good and spaced out, and they're really good in melee combat, so they're kind of a unique archer in that way. And just by volume of fire, they're really cheap, and they can take down a lot of things. They have really good magic spells. They have really good lore choices. So the only thing greenskins were bad at was cavalry. And CA's like, got it. People have been complaining about greenskins. They need better cavalry. And now these aren't huge buffs, but they are slight buffs. And I'm like, this faction as a whole needs nerfs. And at the end of this, we got a net slight buff. And that's why I'm annoyed, because it doesn't look like anything changed. Now, Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, 375 to 400. It's not nothing, but they're still, if used right, going to get more than 400 value throughout the game. So, meh. Also, another thing that pissed me off, I'm not a High Elf player, but the High Elves need a lot of love right now, and the fact that the only thing they got was one unit getting a Frenzy change, not great. Lizardmen. Butcherbird, Stone Trolls are still a problem to a decent amount of factions. I think they're still good against Bretonnia. But anyway, we'll move on. Nikai's mask got a big change, and that's cool. And he got minus 100 cost. I mean, he needs buffs, but I think he needs slightly different ones. Tehenna lost melee attack on everything because of Frenzy, but otherwise he gets back. Krokgar and anybody on Carnosaur lost armor-piercing damage, base damage, and melee attack to compensate for Frenzy. I think that's a bit overdoing it because it's also a unit you can't use. Greenskin, then get nerfs. Yeah. Anyway, why? I don't like this change. I'm not a big Lizardmen fan, but I don't like the change in the T-Rexes because that's, in my opinion, the cool way to play the game is to get a bunch of monsters, run around, and use your dinosaurs like dinosaurs and really rush people and have a good time. Now, what people usually did for heroes was take 2 skink chiefs with their little blow dart guns, or a skink priest with a lore of magic if for some reason you didn't take a Slann. But usually people are going to take Mazda Mundi on his fucking Stegodon. So you're nerfing something that's already not being taken because you're worried it'll finally get taken. And so I think Lizardmen are just going to stay a kiting faction, and that's sad to me. I'd like if their monster play was a little more effective. Tic-Tac-Toe got a cost decrease, which is good for him. Mazda Mundi got a slight cost increase, but not enough to make him ineffective, I don't think. Ancient Croxor got some mass so it can push through some things. It's still 3 times as massive as Thorgrim Grudgebearer, but whatever. Source Old Blood on a Carnosaur, again, took the stuff I mentioned about. Red Crested Skink Chief just took frenzy hits on all of its mounts. Score Scar Veteran also took hits on its Carnosaur. So it's just weird. It's weird to nerf that style of play that's already not popular. Skink Chiefs got 50 hold gold increased, but they still have enough ammo to shoot the entire game and still have 100 shots left over, so I still think we're going to see them. And Feral Carnosaur took the same hit as every other Carnosaur. Ripperdactyls lost a bunch of stuff up here for Frenzy, but then they gained 5 bonus versus infantry and got a cost decrease. That's actually good. That's good for them. I wouldn't mind seeing more Ripperdactyls. They're at least fun. Pterodon Riders got untouched, except for Pawhawk Sentinels got 50 more gold. But Pterodon Riders themselves are still going to be 600 gold bomber units that are really hard to kill, really hard to lock down, and they still poison you. So I think that's a missed opportunity, but whatever, I guess. Red Crustings took a bit of a hit, but they got cheaper, so overall I think they're going to be as effective as they were before. And the Cohort of Sotex is still going to be really, really good. Frail Stegodon lost a charge bonus. Okay, I do have to check. Do you have Frenzy, my friend? Stegodon. Okay, Stegodon doesn't have Frenzy, so... Overall, slight nerf, but not a big deal. Ancient Salamander's an interesting change, and I don't think it's a bad one. It lost 10 charge bonus. It lost 2 melee attack, though I think it might have Frenzy. Lost 3 melee defense. Gained a little bit of leadership, gained ammunition, and lost cost. So it's cheaper and a better artillery piece, but now it's less useful once it runs out of ammo and starts cycle charging. That's a fine change. It's cool. Salamander Hunting Pack, Umbral Tide, Razordon Hunting Pack, and the Amexon Barbs all took a cost decrease, which they needed, so good for them. Bastiladon with the Solar Engine got a cost increase, which it needed, so good for it. Stegodon got a cost decrease. I don't know if it needed that, but fine. Thunderous One got a cost increase. Chameleon Skinks got a cost increase. And Poison got nerfed, so that's not going to show here, but Chameleon Skinks did get double nerfed. All in all, I think it'll leave the Lizardmen in a healthier place. I'm a little sad about Carnosaurs not getting a buff, but that's fine. They're in a overall healthier place, though we'll see how the new units affect them. But with the current units, better place. Captain Morgan saying, what up, peeps? Not much, dude. Norska, I'm really mad about. I used to like Norska a bit, and then they got nerfed into the ground, and nobody cares about them anymore. Throg lost mass. So for some reason, Throg got nerfed, and I don't know if anybody was asking for that, but okay. Skinwolf Werekin lost a melee attack for Frenzy. Beast of Tashnar got a cost increase for some reason. Do they have Frenzy? Because if they have Frenzy and got a cost increase, then that would mean it's an overall buff. Yeah, they have Frenzy. Okay, so that's an overall little buff for them. Good for them. Maws of Savagery. Yeah, this is where it gets tricky. So they did get a little bit of a buff because they have Frenzy, I believe. Oops, not that one. Where is Maws of Savagery? You guys have Frenzy, right? Yeah, they have Frenzy. So a slight buff on the melee attack front. They gained an armor-piercing damage. They lost a base damage. So overall, a buff for the ROR Skinwolves, which is good. But then the Skinwolves themselves lose an armor-piercing damage, and they just stay stagnant with the Frenzy. Though Skinwolves, and this will be a reoccurring theme, Skinwolves are filthy cowards. So with only 60 leadership, if they lose that Frenzy, this is going to be a nerf. And you lose the Frenzy if you fall below 50 leadership, which, if there's any ranged fire coming in on you or any artillery fire, you're going to lose that pretty quickly. And that's also my problem with the Skaven. Someone was asking what's wrong with the Skaven. That's it. So this Frenzy, a sideways move, mathematically, it's like, oh, you lost 2 melee attack, but you gained 2, so you're fine. It's like, no. Now my fucking melee attack is tied to leadership, which I'm, as Norska or Beastmen, though Beastmen got a bunch of other stuff, so it doesn't matter, but like Norska and Skaven that got really hit hard by this, in my opinion, their whole thing is that their leadership fucking sucks. And then you tied all of their good stats to their fucking shitty leadership. So if they ever start losing combat, they're going to lose really hard. And it's just, bothers me. Bothers me a lot. Armored Skinwolves lost the same thing. Marauder Berserkers. So all that happened to Norska, debatably, and I would say Dark Elves were second worst. Norska's the worst. Whatever happened to the worst faction, in my opinion, is Throg got less mass. Everything got the Frenzy changes. The Beast of Tashnar got a slight buff. The Maws of Savagery got a slight buff. That's it. That's what CA thought would bring Norska out of retirement, is debatably nerfing Skinwolves and nerfing Throg. But the Beast of Tashnar guys, but they're back in the game. They're perfect. They're the best faction in the whole game. Best faction. I think it's dumb. I think it's fucking dumb. Skaven with a Bonebreaker. Lost armor-piercing damage, gained 2 base damage, lost 2 melee attacks. So this is all for Frenzy shit, but again, the Skaven Chieftain has, say it with me, kids, 60 fucking leadership. Most of the time, he's got that stupid little orange vuvuzela above his head telling me he is scared of shit. Okay? So that's overall going to be a nerf on him. Ugh. Gorich got a buff overall because of Frenzy, I think. But we'll get back to that. Packmaster and a Brood Horror, and the Brood Horrors in general, fucking really? They are useless after their cost increase and melee defense debuff. But Brood Horrors, let's just pull it up. So I'm hovering on Skaven. Throt has 60 leadership. A Packmaster on a Brood Horror has 55. And the Brood Horror itself has 55. Okay, so you have 55 leadership. If you lose 25, you're going to lose Frenzy, which again, as we mentioned earlier, is where all of your stats are going to. So this is getting rid of armor-piercing damage because they're worried that with Frenzy, these guys will be too good. And they're getting rid of melee attack to compensate for the Frenzy buff. But these guys are the worst unit at keeping Frenzy active. So overall, most of the game, they're going to be fucking nerfed. And they're already bad, goddammit! Ugh, I hate it. And this for no reason. For no reason. Skaven Warlord on a Brood Horror. Clearly the bane of quick battle. He's in every single game. We're so tired of seeing him, apparently, according to CA, because they took 10 fucking melee attack from this guy. Why? Why would you do that? What did he do to deserve this? Just 10 fucking melee, no reason. Get fucked. Ugh. Scroll Gloss and melee attack for Frenzy, Plague Priest, whatever, Plague Priest. You get it at this point. Skaven Warlord on a Bonebreaker is fine. He lost 2 whole armor piercing damage, got back in base damage. So I guess they really don't want you to play him on a Brood Horror. They just want you to play him on a Bonebreaker, which is odd. But it's fine, I guess. Morse Guitar's Hellion and the Mutant Rat Ogre. The Mutant Rat Ogre itself got a buff because you notice the melee attack thing isn't here, but it does have Frenzy, so it gets 2 melee attack net. Morse Guitar's Hellion takes a little bit of a nerf because you lose 3 instead of 2, so you do end up losing 1 melee attack, but it's largely fine. Rat Ogres, I think, overall get nerfed. I mean, they lose 3 armor piercing, they lose 2 base damage, and they lose 2 melee attack. With the Frenzy thing we mentioned, their leadership is also quite low. They have 56 leadership. Yeah. So Rat Ogres, if they lose 28 leadership, which is pretty easy to do, they lose their Frenzy buff. But even without the Frenzy buff, they got nerfed overall. So Rat Ogres, already a pretty okay unit, are going to be probably a bad unit. But what sucks about the Rat Ogres being potentially a bad unit is the Skaven need them. So no matter what happens to them, you have to take them because you have no other mass. You can't stop anything with anything else. So you're like, it's a critical core unit to your identity. And if it ever sucks, your faction is going to start to suck very quickly. Because the balance changes, yes. Adelmo is pointing out that most of these things are balanced around campaign, but I, being a multiplayer-focused person, I'm going to bitch about the multiplayer implications. And yes, Deadly Bunnies, you stole my punchline, but I will get there, but you are very correct. So, the thing got a cost decrease, that's fine. I believe it has Frenzy, so that's overall a buff to the thing, good for it. Plague Monks, and Spares, all of them just getting the nerf, quote-unquote, for Frenzy, but actually these units do have pretty high leadership, so I don't think this is going to increase or decrease their effectiveness. That being said, they're not frequently seen because they usually suck. Sensor Bears need a very specific situation to be good. Gutter Runners with Poison and Gutter Runner Slingers with Poison got a cost decrease. Now, at first, this looks like a buff. I think it's overall a nerf because both Poison and their ability Snare Net both took a hit. So with 2 nerfs and then 25 gold buff, I don't think they're overall better. But Deadly Bunnies pointed out in the chat that what do people hate about Skaven? What do they hate playing against Skaven? They hate Poison Wind. And Poison Wind is the only effective way to play anymore, it seems. And Molder was already kind of weak. Now with these nerfs to the Brood Horrors, again, and a little bit of nerfs to the Rat Ogres, sure, you kind of buffed the ROR Hell Pit, but otherwise the Molder playstyle, which was already bad, is even worse. Infantry didn't get any meaningful buffs. So how's the only way Skaven going to win the games? It's abusing Poison Wind even more. It's all we have left. And people are going to be like, oh, fuck nerf Poison Wind. And if they nerf Poison Wind and don't buff anything else, Skaven are just going to suck. And it's annoying because, like, kind of like I said with the Lizardmen thing, the play style that they're pushing you into, where the Lizardmen, they're pushing you more into kiting, the Skaven are getting pushed more into Poison Wind, and the diversity that I like about their roster and the amount of fun I can have with different builds is decreasing as you just get pigeonholed into either artillery spam or Poison Wind spam, because Molder's clearly on the way out, and Infantry was never a way to win the game. Butcherbird saying looks like Mass Eshin will be the way to go now. Yeah. Tomb Kings are another weaker faction that have kind of needed some help for a while. They're not bad, but they're not great. And this was a disappointing thing to see for them. It's just like, Cetra can no longer hide in the forest. Okay. King Kesh Scorpion Legion, 50 gold. And then Acropolis Knights and Halberds got 25 gold increase. I mean, decrease, so it's a buff, but it's like, they need a lot more than that. Though Burning Head did get nerfed, so maybe they'll be okay. But I'll have to see it to believe it. I think they need more help than that. Vampire Coast needed more help than this. Yeah, they need more help than this because Vampire Fleet Captain had a bug fix, but not one that mattered. Tide of Skjold got a cost increase, so that's not good. And then these guys all lost 2 melee attack because of Frenzy, but if I remember correctly, let's take a quick old Gandaruni at the Vampire Coast. Yeah, they only have 60 leadership because they're undead. So they don't break, but a lot of the game they're going to be negative leadership and even crumbling. So that's overall kind of a nerf. So Vampire Coast needed a lot of help, and instead they got debatably a nerf, but not a lot. Deadly Bunny saying Burning Head will still likely destroy them. Yeah, probably. Because it could fully obliterate units. So I don't think taking like 2 damage off of it out of 20 is going to stop them from being fully obliterated. Vampire counts got just a bunch of frenzy changes. Again, I think these are slight nerfs because of how undead work. They usually have very low leadership so that they can start crumbling. Koenigsegg Stalkers got 25 gold off. That doesn't matter as much. Yeah, especially like Vargeist. Vargeist are always crumbling for me. What's their leadership? Oops, I always do that. Vargeist. 62 leadership. Not great, but not terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I think overall that's going to be a nerf again for them. This was kind of interesting. Crypt Horrors got 15 more armor and then a melee defense buff. I think they needed that. I think that's a good change. I don't think it'll make them the best unit in the world, but it's a good change. Corpse Guards got a big mass increase. That's fine, I guess. That's not offensive. Warriors of Chaos, just frenzy changes. And Lord of Change got a mass change. Does anybody know what that is? I was looking on the roster and I couldn't find out what the fuck a Lord of Change is. I mean, it's like Zinj, but what is it? Deadly Bunny's asking, do I want to know the saddest thing about Depth Guard? Sure, hit me. Forsaken got a debuff, but with Frenzy, they'll be fine. Chaos Warhounds got a buff. So overall, Warriors of Chaos, pretty much the same as they were before. Wood Elves, Sisters of Twilight, and Glade Lords got melee defense increases. Don't know why, but okay. Because they spend most of their time out of combat. If you can get them in combat, that's kind of the counterplay, isn't it? So it's weird to buff their weakness? I don't know. Durthu and Orion got some debuffs because of Frenzy. Overall, they'll be fine. Drycha got a cost increase that she really needed. Otherwise, she's fine. Wraith those are hard, fine. Low-X Tricksters. I didn't know that Low-X Tricksters were a problem, so I don't really know why their cost has to increase that much. Zarthoriel is a Lord of Change. So it's like a unit type. They have less armor than Greatswords, even though they're meant to be some of the deadliest vampires in the world. Fucking Depth Guard. Great Stag Knights lost some stats. I don't think this was needed, because the Lost Sylvan Knights are almost the only Great Stag Knights I ever see doing well. So it's weird to nerf the basic ones, but whatever. They nerfed both of them. Glade Riders got a slight nerf. Wild Riders got a slight nerf. Wild Riders with Shields got a slight nerf. Partially this is due to Frenzy, so it'll be okay, but overall it's a nerf. Wild Hunters of Kronos got a nerf. Forest Dragon got a slight buff, but doesn't matter that much, and Hawk Riders got a slight nerf. So Wood Elves got a slight nerf, and they were a very strong faction, so maybe they needed it, but I don't think these are the debuffs they needed. Low-X Tricksters is another Frenzy change. Okay, so overall they're going to get more stats. Got it. The weird thing about this, though, and not Low-X Tricksters, like buffs are buffs, but the thing with all of these, and I was talking to some friends in an RTK channel, but I really want to drive this point home, is all these units are losing base stats that you're guaranteed. You're going to get all the time, no matter what. And you're transferring it to Frenzy, which is a conditional. And just because at the start of the game, when everything's full leadership, full vigor, you could point at it and say, everything's the same, it's not a debuff, shut your mouth. If they fall below half leadership, they're going to lose these stats. So on the whole, I don't see how it can be a buff. Where, like, it's now situational whether or not you have the stats you used to have. okay, I would prefer to always have the stats I used to have. And that's why I'm so annoyed at these changes, especially because of the units that I like that it affected that I've already bitched about. Spell costs, I think this is good. There were some random cost things with spells that were kind of dumb. But overall, it's fine. Miscast Explosion Unification is good. Sometimes you'll miscast and your mage will like go to half health, and other times they'll be fine, so it's largely okay. Rune Magic System, what do you want? Big Babo's fellow absolute units. Sure, I'll join that. I'll figure out what's going on with this later. Rune Magic System, Dwarves without a comparable magic system. I think this is good. I like their new system, is that every spell is on the same cooldown. I think that's really neat. I wonder how it'll be implemented. I need to see the spells a little bit better. And they're not super well laid out here, so I'm just going to skip it, but it sounds interesting. Vindictive Glare is odd. Its projectile number went from 10 to 5. So that is a half damage decrease, which is good. But then it got a bunch of AP, which is not good. Because usually the only thing that was nice about Vindictive Glare is it sucked against armor, sort of. So I don't know. And it got a mana cost decrease. So we'll see. Because that half projectile number is going to be a big change. So I think on the whole it will get nerfed. I think on the whole it'll be in a better spot, but we'll have to see. So that miscast chance to cause Warhammer 1 factions and Warhammer 2 suffer different amounts of damage. Consistency is a joke. That does not surprise me. Burning Head took some nerfs to damage, but I still think it'll be a good spell. I just don't think it'll be 100% forever the best spell in the whole game. Lore of Death, I really like these changes. Aspect of the Dread Knight will now actually be interesting. Gives magical attacks, causes fear. It used to just cause terror and skip over fear, which was a little interesting. Aspect of the Dread Knight, good change. Soul Blight, also a good change. It gets a little buff, but also just more consistent weapon damage debuff, so you can more accurately track what the fuck's going on in there. So that's good. So Lore of Death, I think, is a little more usable, a little more fun. I think the Lore of Shadows took an unnecessary hit. I didn't really get it. Enfeebling Foe duration is down, which that was a good spell, sure, but then the speed buff also got uniformed, so Lore of Shadows just took a debuff, and it's not... If you ever had the chance between Lore of Shadows, Lore of Life, Lore of Fire, and Lore of Death, Lore of Shadows is like fourth on there, so it didn't need nerfs, while Lore of Death got buffs, and it's already a good lore with just Spirit Leech, so I don't know about that one. That's questionable to me. Why did they nerf some of Bretonnian units but do nothing about the Fae? Yeah, Ian, I actually was so peeved off about a lot of other things, I didn't even think about the Fae. Yeah, Fae Double Paladin still gave me way to go. Didn't change anything about that, so that's cool. Lore of the Wilds. Lost some charge bonus. But this is the Beastmen lore, and it's all kind of fucked. It's all kind of fucked. A lot of changes, a lot to go through, but Devolve is better, but single target. Vile Tides improved. It looks like it's improved. It's fine. Traderkin, mana cost. It looks like the Lore of Wilds just got a buff overall. Except for the Mantle of Gorog, apparently. Lore of Beasts, I don't know. I don't know about this one. So they tried to change it so that more than one spell is good, but I don't think they succeeded. So you get more AP weapon damage, but for most base infantry that you would maybe cast this on, they're going to lose duration and lose base weapon damage. So this is more of an elite thing now. Duration is down. You get no speed from it, but you get 24 melee defense. That's okay. That's kind of like that Tomb King's Aura of Protection or whatever. So, I don't know. I guess Pants and Penetrable Pelt will be okay now. Curse of Honor here is actually good now because you got rid of accuracy and added melee defense. So I think it's a melee defense, melee attack debuff now. Let's just check really quick. Wilds, no, beasts. Curse of Arahan. There you are. Yep, so it's just melee attack, melee defense. So it's a lot like incantation. Wait a second. Where are you? Beasts, spells. 24, 25. Where's the lore of Nehakara? $15 with 51-second cooldown. 11. What? It's just better? Why is it just better? It's gonna cost less mana and also give a speed debuff unless that patch is written incorrectly. Am I incorrect? Is anyone in chat seeing something I'm not? So that the accuracy is gone, it's gonna be minus 24 melee defense, but this is also gonna have minus 24 speed and also costs less Winds of Magic. That's so weird to me. But then also, this is getting rid of the speed and adding 24 melee defense. And the Lore of Nehakara has physical resistance. Okay, so it has physical resistance, so it's slightly different. But it looks like the Lore of Beasts is just becoming the Lore of Nehakara, but actually good. That kind of pisses me off. Yeah, because they have a slow spell, they have a buff spell. Well, that makes me sad. The Tomb King's one lasts twice as long? Okay, good. At least they have something. Last 38 seconds, and I imagine if Spudhouse is correct... Duration 39 seconds. You lied to me, Spudhouse! You lied to me! They're the same! They're the same duration. Euseps just costs 4 more mana, and I think it might even have a longer cooldown. It has a 4-second longer cooldown, it costs 4 more mana, and it doesn't decrease speed. But otherwise they have the same duration. Wait, no, the other one has a 1-second longer duration! Spudhouse! You liar! Look in the notes. Oh. Don't do the notes. Ah, there it is. Okay, that's still not half. Still not half. In Spudhouse, you're still a liar. I don't care that you didn't lie about anything. You're still a liar. Transformation of Kadon. Manticore summons got a mana cost increase. Okay, I'm a Skaven player, right? Manticores fuck me up all day, right? Cool. I don't think they needed this mana cost increase. I don't think they did. 18 was already pretty high, because if you took this lore and you wanted to summon Manticores, you pretty much just summon 2 and then you get off 1 or 2 Flocks of Doom and you're done for the day. I don't think they needed this mana cost increase. I think it's excessive. I think we'll still see Manticores in the Skaven matchup, but other than that, they might start to actually go away, which I'm not against them going away, but I think that's a bit aggressive. Lore of High, just rounding out the ward save to 10, because they're trying to go with even numbers. I was more mad about this until I realized, because Jay Phoenix corrected me, Pestilent Birth is already 16 mana, so this isn't actually a nerf. It's just copied from the last patch for some reason, but we can go look. It says 14 to 16, but if you go into the Skaven roster... Oh, hell. You. It's already 16. So that's just a CA slip-up. It's not actually a nerf, because I was going to say if it got nerfed again, that'd be bad. Blessed with Filth. It got a buff. I guess it kind of needed it, because it's adding poison to a roster so stacked with poison it doesn't usually need it. And poison got nerfed, so I guess mana cost is fine, but it's not that good. Lore of Stealth got a Toxic Rain debuff, because they're trying to round down speeds. But yep, Lore of Stealth needed a debuff. Fucking GG. Duration goes down. All nerfs to summon are welcome by an elf player like me. Alright, fair. Runic Magic. Oh, God, this is going to be a lot to go through when everything's changed already. Oh, it's just Forge Fire is a debuff instead of a buff. Rune of Negation is single target. Master Rune of Negation, I don't give a shit. Rune of Oath and Steel has a wind-up time, and I don't give a shit about it. Rune of Wrath and Ruin is now an explosion, because it used to be a Spirit Leech type thing, then it was a slow, and now it's an explosion. Locus of Power, I don't fully know what this means, but it looks like everyone's going to constantly overcast. Yeah. I don't understand what that means. Effect range from map wide to 100 meters. Recharge time. So is it every 6 seconds enemy spellcasters are just going to suffer a miscast and they're just going to instantly explode and die? I don't fully understand what's going on with that. I could be wrong. Frenzy, the change we've been talking about this whole time, but for some reason has put at this part of the patch notes. If you look at my little cursor over here, all of this was affected by it, and we're just getting to it now. There we are. Melee attack up 2. Charge bonus up 2%. Base weapon strength down 5%, but AP weapon strength up 10%. Poison lost almost half of its speed debuff, and then 25%. Well, it's 5%, but 25% of 20 is 15. So they lost. Poison's not as good anymore. Brass Cleaver got a buff just because they wanted to round it up to 10. Potion of Foolhardiness that no one ever used ever got a buff. Deadly Onslaught got a slight buff. Lost 8 gold and then lost this. That's when you're on a Hammer of Doom, an Anvil of Doom mount. Yeah, but I'm just wondering, does that just mean casters are constantly miscasting around you even if they're not casting spells, or what's going on there? Because it just says they suffer... Enemy spellcasters suffer miscast explosion when in range. Like, that's all it says. Do they just die? I don't know. All these are just round downs. I'm not even going to pay attention to them. So now this is the part of the patch that actually pissed me off a whole lot. So, Frenzy's in the middle of this for no reason. And now, without any context, we're just back to Beastmen. It just says Beastmen for no reason. All the way up here, we were at Beastmen. And then, also, wait, what the fuck? It went Beastmen, and then it showed the same picture, but now without Beastmen and slightly zoomed out. But they really love this picture because they wanted to fucking show you it a third time in the middle of the patch, just say Beastmen. So I learned from reading all this, this is abilities and items and shit. But it does not communicate that. So Primal Fury got a buff to charge bonus and a debuff to speed because everything wants to be 10s now. Blood Greed, that's the thing with the Minotaurs that should have been mentioned way up with all the Minotaurs. So this is why all the Minotaurs got 10 leadership, is because they lost 11. But now they get 5 more melee attack, they get more charge bonus. And this is also weird. And I noticed this later too. Blood Greed got a cost decrease. How does that work? Butcher or bunnies, how is that going to work? Does that mean Minotaurs cost less? Because this isn't something you can take off of them. This is a passive. It's just part of their kit. How does it have a cost? I don't know. Now it only recharges in melee, and it takes 60 seconds to recharge. Okay. That's not that good. But yeah, what the fuck is that? Slaughter's Call, cost increase. No, cost decrease. 1 more melee attack and more charge. So that's good. Unrelenting Warherd, condensed 4 abilities to 1. That's super clear. I know 100% what's going on with this. Anyway. Horn of the First Beat. Should there mean they're cheaper? Yeah, but why? If the Minotaurs were cheaper, why wouldn't you put that in the Minotaur section? Not give a random cost to a passive. CA! Whatever. Bretonian's got some rounding, but that's about it. So the Fey Enchantress's abilities that are too good, no nerfs there. They're fine. Dark Elves, oh my god. Oh my god. I hate it. I hate it so much. I know you love 10 CA, but Marathi gets -2 more melee attack in an AoE and -1 more melee defense in an AoE. Yes, buff Marathi, the only good unit for the Dark Elves. Buff her, leave everything else in the dirt. Fucking goddamn it. Barbed Net, whatever that was, took a debuff. I think that's part of the Canyon Assassin. Nerf buff. Slight buff to Helm of the Kraken. Slight buff to Kindle the Fury. Chillblade debuff. Trial Blades buff. But fucking Marathi. Fucking goddamn it, Marathi. But Spaghetti Code added again, having to decrease cost abilities, not the actual units. Yeah. All right, Dwarves. Oh god, we're still doing this. Oh, and Flash Bomb. Oh my! I didn't even notice this, and now I'm realizing it. All right, so remember earlier when we were talking about the Master Engineer being the best hero in the game? All right, Flash Bomb doesn't even have to target him, so he doesn't have to waddle his slow ass close enough to something to actually affect it anymore. He can just cast it. So Flash Bomb's getting even better. And it was going to be a little tricky to to use Flash Bomb in an AoE around him when he is a ranged character with shit melee stats. But now he doesn't even have to worry about that. Doesn't even have to worry about it. Could just cast it from range. Fucking god damn it, engineer. So mad. Rune of Courage, change from active to passive. I don't know what that means. I don't know if the Rune of Courage was a thing. And some largely irrelevant buffs, except for the Ironbeard's Bracer got physical resistance from 33 to 20%. That's actually a big debuff. Huh. Okay. Empire, Kaboom, and Emergency Vent are two things that... Well, Emergency Vent you couldn't use because it's a campaign-only unit. Kaboom is on a steam tank when it dies, so that's interesting. It's fire damage. I don't know if that matters that much. And otherwise, largely irrelevant. Engineer's better smoke bomb than Gromby. Well, Liam Clifford, Gromby doesn't have a smoke bomb anymore. It's gone from his roster for some reason, so he sucks now. All right. Now, this is the part of the Greenskin change that maybe could take them out of S tier, but I'm not sure. So, Loons in general only recharge when in melee and have an initial... They aren't initially active. You have to be in melee for 15 seconds. So that is a big debuff, and that is very needed. But you're still going to get one off in the game, and usually in most games, you only got one off, maybe two. So I don't know if that matters that much. Grom the Paunch's Language of the Boys is less big, lasts less long, costs a little less. Lucky Banner costs less, its duration is down, its melee attack is down a lot. The Great Uns is here, costs less, and its duration is up, but its leadership's down. So overall, Grom finally got nerfed, but it was through all of his effects, not his actual stats. I would have liked to see that up in his section, but whatever. Wurzag, slight debuff overall in my opinion, though the bonus staff got a little better. Pump Harder Lads, just everything's rounding. Rounding. So I think Skarsnik is now going to be the best Lord of the Greenskins, but Grom might be situationally still good. We'll see. High Elves, rounding Lizardmen. Swiftness of Itzel. So Krokgar, remember that his Carnosaur got debuffed because of Frenzy, but overall debuffed. Now his Swiftness of Itzel is getting debuffed. So they really don't want you to play Krokgar anymore. Don't know why. Protection of Quetzal. Duration 12 seconds to 35 seconds. Wait, what is the protection of Quetzal? That is a huge change. Oops, not Talaqua. Not Talaqua. I just want Lizardman. Quetzal. No, that's not his. Anybody know what the aura of Quetzal is? Frost Phoenix, I don't know if they got a buff. Aura. It's not on these fucking guys, is it? Oh my god, it is! Why? You made the Slann even better! Why? Why? Fuck, dude. Wait, protection of Quetzal. Okay, it's not the aura. But then, wait, what is the protection of Quetzal? Show the old ones. One time you use Sword Save on generic? Okay. Amulet of Itzel? No, it's not the Amulet of Itzel. It's the Aura of Quetzal. Mazda. Nope, it's not Mazda either. Slann Pog. Mazda's ability, Mazda's item. I don't know. We can't find it. It's fine. It's fine. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. He said as he kept looking, because he doesn't give a shit. It's not an aura. I don't know. It's somewhere, dude. What were we talking about before that? Oh yeah, someone asked about a Frostheart Phoenix. Frostheart Phoenix. All the Phoenixes lost some missile resist, so I don't think they're feeling it. And the Blizzard melee attack lost one more melee attack, so I don't think that's going to make him relevant. So whatever the protection of Quetzal has got a big ol' upgrade. Protection of Quetzal upgraded. That would imply it's a spell. I don't... What? But upgrade... I don't fucking care. I don't give a shit. I'm skipping this. Sunburst of Hexwaddle got a little nerf. So Mazdamundi got a little bit of a nerf. Mask of Heavens for Tic-Tac-Toe got a buff. Good for him. Arc of Sotek, removed poison contact effect, added damage over time contact effect. That's a good change. The Arc of Sotek might actually be good now. Blade of the Ancient Skies, I think that's also a tic-tac-toe thing, and it looks like it got a little bit of a buff. Everything else is fine. Now, Norska, all right, guys. So, you remember how Norska earlier got slightly nerfed, in my opinion? Well, welcome back. Frostbite lost 1% to round down. Physical resistances of all stages of their rage, rounded down. Berserking physical resistance, rounded down. We don't round up in this class. Fuck Norska in particular, I guess. Everything went down, except Frenzied Assault went up 4%, and then 2 of their items got rounded up 10. But, yeah, so, take that, Norska. You get nerfed. Again. Because nobody's playing you and you're the worst faction. Get nerfed into the ground. It's to make Dark Elves feel better. All right. This took me forever. Warp Discharge. Does anybody know what this is? I do now. Its rarity was increased from uncommon to rare. Now, if we look earlier... Oh, fuck. That's a lot of scrolling. Fuck that. Okay. The main point is that they changed the spells to be like common, uncommon, rare, like legendary or whatever. So they changed this spell, quote unquote, from uncommon to rare, and its cost increases from 150 to 200. All right, cool. That's a cool spell, human boy. Why are you being such a little bitch about this? Because I couldn't find what the fuck it was, and I know what it is now because it took me forever. So don't go look it up. I'll tell you in a second. But it's not in the Plague lore. It's not in Eshin Sorcerer lore. It's not in the Warlock Engineers lore. So it's not in any of the 3 Skaven lores. So then why is it being classified as a spell? What the fuck is it? It's Morskatar's Hellions specific passive vortex. It's not a spell. I don't know. You can't take it off. I don't know why they had to increase it from uncommon to rare or whatever. I don't know why they did a cost increase. Does he get a cost increase? Or does the spell that you can't take on anything besides Morskatar's Hellion have a cost increase? I don't know what it means! I don't know what it means! I don't know what it means. The numbers, Mason. The numbers. Strength in numbers, so the Skaven passive got nerfed, the Snare Nets got nerfed, passive got nerfed both ways. Treacherous Raiders got a buff, Lucky Skellhelm got a buff, Duck and Weave got a nerf, so that's the Death Runner passive, if you don't know what that is. Pipes of Piebald is the really shitty item on the Plague Priest that you never take. It got a slight buff, and Cloak of Shadows, Snitch's item, got a slight buff. Overall, though, I think the Skaven got nerfed, because... yeah, like, so hear me out. Some people have been saying Skaven are not nerfed. Why are you pissed? I think Skaven are nerfed because their passive, which is on literally every unit, got nerfed. Their skirmishers got nerfed in their snare net and their poison. They only got recompensed with like 25 gold, which isn't worth it. Because at most you're going to take 1 or 2 gutter runners. So yeah, you got 25 to 50 gold back. Well, you took hits on poison and snare net. So that's not good. And your units are less fast, so you slow other stuff less. Poison slows them less than it did. Snare set slows them less than it did. And you're slower than you were. That's like a lot to throw at the Skaven skirmishers. So I don't like that. All Brood Horrors and Molder monsters, well, the ones that matter, Rat Ogres and Brood Horrors got nerfed again because of the Frenzy shit. And overall, Skaven just got nothing in return. So... they got nerfed, and I thought they were like B tier. I thought they were very balanced, and the annoying part is the only thing about them that's unbalanced, Poison Wind, is now the only really effective way to play them. That sucks. Tretch is the best lord now, confirmed. You guys are all correct. And, okay, they were taking a look at fucking Tretch's abilities, and they did all that stuff, but they still thought this was fine. Where is it? Stay here, I'll get help. I maybe have... Skaven is faster initially now? What? Scurry away. Strength in numbers. Oh, okay. They're slightly faster initially. Still, though. Because when is their leadership going to be high? Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, this dumb bullshit. I've talked about it on stream before, but it sucks. Stay here, I'll get help. Is still this way. It has a 100% miscast chance. It's gonna miscast, it's gonna hurt Tretch. He cannot use it. Hear me out. He cannot use a leadership buff if he's in melee combat. Why? Why? When else would you need to use that? And I know we can use it on other units so that they don't break, but it's Tretch has to be out of combat, standing perfectly like still and fine, and have enough health to miscast it that's okay. All to give 16 leadership to Skaven infantry or monsters that are probably going to break anyway, and they're not what's going to carry you the game. But then you get Stalk and Unspottable, which Deathmaster Snitch can get, and Assassins can get, without fucking hurting themselves. Anyway, I digress. Alright. Tomb Kings, Crown of Nahakara, that's the only thing I got changed, rounded up to 10. Magical Void of Luther got nerfed a little bit to round down to 30. Charmed and Vambrances of the Sun got buffed to round up to 10. Vampire Counts doesn't really matter, just to round up a little bit. Mask of Corn rounded up a little bit. It looks like most of these are buffs. So Wood Elves got some slight buffs on their items just around. And then we have bug fixes we don't give a fuck about. So, yeah, wait, is Gotrek in here? Chariots, no longer confined, Drogs, Familiar Line Breakers, Fix the Model, Spellweavers. I don't see Gotrek in here, so he's probably still going to be bugged as shit. Campaign, I don't care. MP unit cap fixes? Oh, this is for quick battle. Whatever, who gives a shit? So the long and short of it, what's Human Boy's bitching is done. What's the long and short of it? Beastmen are going to be really good now, I think. I think they'll go up to A or S tier. I would bet on A. So they go all the way up from like D or C tier to A. Let's just... Total War Warhammer factions. Let's just take a look. Okay. Types of factions. I don't give a shit about this, dude. Just give me a list. Give me a list. Okay, Empire's largely unchanged. They're fine. Greenskins did take a nerf. I don't think it was a big enough nerf, and I think they got buffed in other areas. So we'll see. I think they went from S tier to A. Dwarves, I think they went from C tier to A tier, maybe B tier. They just got a really good hero. Their Ironbreaker's going to be really good now. And their rune system is probably going to be pretty good. Vampire Counts got left in the dirt, unfortunately. Warriors of Chaos got left alone. They were fine. Beastmen up to A tier. Bretonnia, still probably A or S tier, because while their Battle Pilgrims took a hit, their main style of gameplay did not. Looking... Also, I am Salty. Oh, hey, Salty. With broken chariots, Beastmen are easily the best. We'll see if the chariots are still broken. I'm making this list in the assumption chariots aren't broken. But Beastmen did get a lot of chariot buffs, so we'll see. Wood Elves, I think, will largely still stay A tier. Their main style of play wasn't fucked with too much. Dryads are still a super, super effective front line. Their archers are still all really good. Their Cav took some nerfs, but their Cav were already not super great. Like, they're good, but they're not super great. So if you need the Cav, they'll still be fine. If you don't need them, then you weren't going to take them anyway. Norska got nerfed for some fucking reasons. They went from D tier to F tier. High Elves got left untouched, which means they're still in C tier. Lizardmen got overall neutral buffs and nerfs, but with the new units, I can only imagine they'll be buffed, so they're probably going to be S tier now. Dark Elves got left mostly in the dirt. Some slight buffs. I'm going to leave them in C tier, probably. Skaven got nerfed. I think that takes them from B to C. It's not the biggest nerf in the world, but I do think it's still a nerf, and I think it sucks. So I think they're going to go to C tier, unfortunately, for me. Tomb Kings got left alone, even though they needed help, so they're still C tier. Vampire Coast, probably still D tier, because they got some nerfs. And they didn't need that, they needed help. So, that would be my thoughts on that. Anyway. So that's my thoughts, and that's why I largely didn't like this whole patch. Beastmen got a much needed buff, but I feel like everybody else went the wrong direction. I guess Greenskins, like, they still got nerfs, but their biggest problems were like Savage Orc Biggins are still really, really good. All their stuff is really cost effective. Now their Cav's better. Now their Chariots are better. I don't know. I'm mad. Yeah, Tomb Kings might be D tier, because they're too weak to fire, which is a very common damage type in this game. And they don't have any healing assets. Anyway, that was my list. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm gonna go to die and die. My poor Skaven. Wham.